How's it going?
Good. You ready
Yeah?
to get started?
I think so. We got a lot to talk about today, don't we?
Yes, I believe we
Yeah.
do.
We started kind of throwing some softballs out as it is. We're talking about health and wellness and fitness and faith and different things. And I think it was a good first couple episodes. But this one, we're going to take kind of a turn into a new direction. We're going to talk about some fun things that have been going on in the news recently. And I think some things that need to be talked about. So, you
Yeah,
ready to dive in?
I think so. Where do you
Good.
want to
All
start?
right. Well, I think we should start with the obvious. Everybody's talking about the Epstein Files, right, that were dropped this past week. So I think that's a good place to start because, for those that don't know, I think it's important to lay a foundation that, my day job is really focused around fighting back against sex trafficking and pornography industry, which really fuels sex trafficking, along with just pure evil and horrible Satanists that hurt children and others. But yeah, so I am really passionate about this topic, and so with Epstein Files coming out and all of the talk about that, I think we need to talk a little bit about the whole Hollywood, Disney, Epstein, and political figures that are involved in this entire conspiracy. And I think it's not even a conspiracy, it's fact. I mean, I guess that's the thing is a lot of people like to, oh, it's all conspiracy theory. You can't prove anything. Were you there? It's like, I don't need to be there, okay? When enough people say when there's smoke, there's fire, like from Footloose, okay? That's kind of how it goes. But let's talk a little bit about that. Did you find anything that was uncovered this past week shocking or interesting?
No, which is really I all the coverage I've seen on it, anyone who's talked about it, especially like on the conservative side, everyone is basically just like a defeatist and they just say, "Oh, yeah, nothing new was uncovered. We're never gonna find anything out." And like they just act like, "Oh, see, I could have told you that, they weren't gonna release everything." And it's like, especially people with bigger, platforms, like it shouldn't be like, "Oh, like they didn't release anything, so let's move on with our lives." They should be using their platform to like, stir
Yeah.
things up and, make a bigger ruckus about it, but they're not. So,
Do
but
you
yeah,
think it's because they're scared?
yeah, I could. I mean, maybe because maybe they have colleagues that could be on the list. I don't know. But either way, it's like, yeah, I'm not. They didn't release any new information. Like we already
Right.
knew Bill Clinton is a weirdo,
Yeah.
But no one is incriminated. No one's been
Arrested.
arrested. Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point because I mean, obviously, there's podcasters out there that have millions of followers and they have the platform that they could bring attention to this. And I thought, briefly over the summer with the Sound of Freedom movie, people were actually going to start, like the general population, to wake up to the fact that on a daily basis, children are being trafficked over our frickin' border.
Yeah,
They're being brought into this country and then they disappear and nobody's held accountable to that. Or the fact that human trafficking, is the number one global industry. Okay? I mean, you would think after that movie maybe there would be a little movement, because people tend to get all riled up when they get emotionally, moved by something. Yeah, there was talk, there was chatter. I mean, I interviewed Tim Ballard, who was the feature of that movie, who that movie was about. I actually met him several times and interviewed him. He's got his own set of, controversy going on, but knowing the darkness that he was up against, you have to wonder, like, are they just attacking him? How much of it is
yeah,
true? How much of it's, I don't know. I mean, it could be true. I know that when I looked at that man and I talked to him, he certainly is a man who's seen a lot. So,
yeah,
he's been some places and seen some darkness. And how does that impact somebody? I don't know. But I don't know.
yeah.
It's frustrating to me because, I listen to a ton, and so do you, podcasters who have reach, have platforms, and literally have moved on to new topics.
Yeah. Well, now
With
it's like, all of them have shifted to more like entertainment. So they all shifted away from news and more to entertainment. So it's like they'll like do TikTok reacts or, whatever, and
Hmm.
just gloss over the whole thing. And it's like, wow, you could actually do something. A smaller podcast like ours, I don't, who knows if it does anything, but theirs could definitely do something. And yeah, they don't use it at all.
Yeah. Well, and I think the
Crazy.
reason that we're talking about it is that, yeah, we're small. We don't have a huge following. We're not heavy influencers in any way, shape, or form. But you know what? We can change that one person at a time. So
Yeah.
if enough of us Christian, average Joe, moms, grandmas, whatever we are, just stop and say enough is enough. We're going to address this and start demanding that our politicians be held responsible. Maybe we can get somewhere with it, but it's going to take people taking action and saying enough is enough. So, yeah, we don't need to probably spend too much time talking about this today because we'll put some links to some ways that you can get involved in this fight in our show notes, because I think the best thing you can do is on a local level, get involved. Find an organization where you can get into the street game here. There are people that are being trafficked that come out of trafficking that need help and support. You could donate to organizations that have houses that take them in, help them, help their children. You could also maybe get into the foster care system. Maybe it's your calling to take in kids. Maybe your job is to be a mouthpiece and run for office and start raising a ruckus out in the world about this topic and demand that somebody do. There's a million different things that you can do, but we're going to put some links in our show notes, because one thing is that I don't want to just talk about this and say, oh, okay, well, that's nice. Hey, let's talk about it and move on. Do something. And we'll come back to this topic, I think, periodically, because it's that important. But I do want to point
Yeah.
out, I have kind of a little clip I wanted to play. And the reason I bring this up is because I remember, I don't know if it was 2020, but you shared some things about some weird stuff online. Do you remember that, when they were selling things
Oh yeah,
online?
Wayfair
Yes.
Gate.
Yes. Remember
Yeah.
that? Yeah. And then there
Yeah.
was like the pizza thing, and there was all this stuff, and everybody's like, you're all conspiracy theories and all this stuff. Okay, well, a lot of that stuff has been proven to be true.
Yeah.
So, I, it's just, we're
But we've
back
all
in.
moved on, right? So
Yeah, exactly. But I do have like a little bit of a clip that I think kind of articulates what we're doing here. I'm going to share it real quick if I can. Let's see if OK Boomer can make this happen. Let's find
like,
out. Okay, we're going to see if it happens. Okay, can you see that?
yes.
Oh my gosh, I did it. Let's see if the
You
audio comes through.
did.
Pizza time.
So familiar.
Pizza time.
Okay, so for everyone that knows who all those folks are, I think it's important to say that we are not suicidal, and no, we don't have any intentions of crashing our cars into trees. So just calling
No.
it out. All you folks on that video right there, you know who you are and you know what you did. So there it is. We'll come back for you for some follow up on that.
Right. One thing I was just thinking about too is, like 2020, there was like the riots and Black Lives Matter and all that. And this is like kind of a hot take probably, but, you know, all these like 20 something, 30 something millennials rioting in the streets who have never experienced slavery in their life ever, obviously, and they claim to have like generational wounds from people that are long dead. you know, they don't seem as upset about modern day slavery where there's literally children, like the most marginalized of human beings is being enslaved right now in our country. I just think it's
Yeah.
interesting. Like it's socially acceptable to riot in the streets and break windows and, burn up cities for slavery that happened like hundreds of years ago, but nobody's going to do anything about modern day slavery today. I just think that's really interesting.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, and
Crazy.
and it's socially fine to talk about generational wounds. And I'm not, the thing is that yes, generational wounds are real. That
Right.
trauma can be carried in the DNA. It absolutely is true. I'm not discrediting that at all because there is
Right.
evidence to
But
prove
is
that
it
that's
the
true.
same? Is it the same though as like an actual
No,
slavery trade that's happening in children right now? I don't think it
I don't
is.
think so. I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
those are the same.
And even if it is the same, we should be equally outraged because
Yeah.
here's the thing: we can't undo what's been done in the past, but we
Yeah.
can stop what's going on right now and into the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's
It's a really troubling thing, and to me, I mean, you as a new mom, but me as a mom, and just thinking like these are children, and
yeah.
they
I
often
can't.
come from homes where there's broken homes. Like if you read the Epstein Files and you read the deposition of that Virginia lady, she came from a home where she was being abused. She ran away
Right.
from home. They hunt for people who are weak and are frail and come from a troubled past. That's who's being trafficked. So all these Democrats who sit on their high horse and pretend like they care about kids in the inner city or poverty or any of those issues, they're straight up lying to themselves and to us, because if they truly cared, they would be reaching out to those kids and help them where they're at and give them the nurturing and the love and the support that they need to grow. Because if you don't, they're going to be trafficked. They're going to be sucked into gangs. They're going to go down paths that they don't want to go to. Yeah, they don't care. They don't care. They
Well,
just want boats.
yeah, and I mean, me and my husband, we did the foster training, and we got literally to the end of the training, like we were ready to get placed, and then I got pregnant, so we stopped. But like when we were going through all that training, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's like where the grooming really starts for a lot of these kids is in their own homes where they're being like seriously abused and seriously like under supervised by the adults in their lives. I mean, they fall through the school system, they fall through their doctor's office, they fall through the foster system. I mean, they just like fall through and get groomed throughout all of these different government entities and whatever, and nobody seems to care and nobody seems to intervene throughout all of those processes with all of those adults. Like this is a huge societal issue that nobody seems to care about,
No,
and it's
absolutely
it's
not.
insane.
It really
Yeah,
is. Yeah, I think you're right. And, I don't think we're going to solve it today. And certainly we're not experts. But I do think that, the
it's good to talk about at
it
least.
is. It's good to talk about
Yeah.
it. And I hope that people will continue the conversation online and we will start to get involved with organizations to make a difference. But at the end of the day, I mean, each one of us has a job as Christians to, we are to look after the children and the widows. I mean, the Bible's pretty clear that we are to care for people in that way, specifically those people, children and widows. Um,
Right.
so I think we really, as
Well, the
Christians,
weakest in our society. I mean,
yeah,
children are the weakest in our society. They're the most marginalized. They're the easiest to manipulate and for people to hurt. And, they also are like the future. So,
right, right.
people, like Christians really need to prioritize protecting like the children in their communities. And, even if you can't save all the children being trafficked, I mean, guaranteed there's kids in your city where you live right now or even on the same street that need help.
Yeah, yeah. And to be honest, Mariah, if you look at statistics too, unfortunately, there's probably even children in your own churches.
Oh
I mean, that's the
yeah.
reality. It's like there's abuse happening in churches. We see it
Yeah. Yep.
from, there's been plenty of controversy in the Catholic Church. There's been Southern Baptist Church. There's been all sorts of church infiltration by people that want to do harm to children, schools, all of that. So it
Yeah.
doesn't. There is no safe spot. But our job should be
There's no state.
vigilant.
Yeah.
We need to
Yeah.
be the watchers. We need to be vigilant, and we need to be looking after those. And there's so many things packed into that. But I mean, even at just a church level, that should be the safest place ever. So I think it's important as Christians we make sure that we do all that we can to ensure that our churches are safe and that we're doing outreach in our communities to help and to be a safe beacon to the community, so that if there is children like we do, I don't know if you guys do Bible release where we bring in kids from the public schools for an hour to do Bible
Mhm.
studies. Yeah, so
No, that
yeah, it's
yeah.
cool. So the public school lets them come into the church for an hour during the school day, and we do Bible studies with them. Now, you're getting kids
Nice.
from all different types of backgrounds in that particular setting, but that's an opportunity for us to really show God's love and to be there for some. And often, like those kids, they will feel comfortable and safe, and they might confide and reach out for help. And we need to be ready to help and to be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It's a
Right. And I
really
feel like a lot of churches are kind of naive in thinking, that, you know, abused children don't go to that church or like that would never happen here or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it should be standard practice, like across the board. People should know what warning signs to look for. They should be trained in some kind of way. Like that should
Yeah,
be a priority for churches because, yeah, kids are so at risk. Especially, I feel
right.
like even in today's world, I mean, I obviously wasn't alive when you were a kid or before then, but I mean, talking to the older generation, I mean, I feel like it's just not a safe world for kids to really exist in without adults
Hmm.
that are taking care of them and watching them closely now.
For sure. Yeah. And, with our day job, like, I mean, you used to work in this field as well, but like knowing that now it's not just enough to lock your doors and your
Yeah.
windows and keep the bad guys out because as soon as you bring technology into your home, the bad guys come into your home through the phones, through the video games, through the TV. They're infiltrating inside even though your doors are locked. And so that's the
Yeah.
other thing is that groomers, like parents need to wake up. Like technology is a gateway to groomers. I mean, there's statistics that I saw recently about how many like 75% of kids have been solicited in some way online and didn't tell
Yeah.
their parents. And that could just
Yeah.
be it could be, I mean, and it's real. You're playing a video game and some creeper has been playing, Halo 2 or I don't even know if that's a game, but whatever. Halo with you for 10 hours. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, want to meet up? Or hey, you want to send me a picture? Or hey, whatever. These things happen. And parents are
Oh,
stupid if they think that that's not going on. And I don't care if your kid is a
guarantee you-
Christian.
Yeah, I guarantee you that 70 it's higher than set. I guarantee you if a kid like I'm just being honest, if a kid is online and it's a like internet connected game and there's any kind of chat room or if it's kind of open source in any way, guaranteed they have been targeted or solicited by an adult in some kind of inappropriate way. Guaranteed,
Wow.
100%. Because if you're a weirdo, where are you gonna go to be weird? Where are you gonna go? You're gonna go
Right.
on games where children are, where
Yep.
clearly they're not being supervised. I mean, it just makes sense. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
any
and
parent
it's
that's like, "Oh, why put blockers in and block?" It's like it literally doesn't matter if they're on there unless you're watching them extremely closely and watching every single person they talk to and do. It's
mhm.
just not safe. I'm just gonna be real. Like it's just not. I was a kid in the early 2000s when there was no blockers. None of it's safe.
Yeah.
None of it.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, you and your brother were that generation that grew up when like the internet just became a thing. Like smartphones
Yeah.
came out and like I remember we got dial up like when you were probably, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8. I'm not sure exactly, but you were, young, you were in elementary school.
Yeah.
That was the first time that internet was, we didn't even, I had no idea. I'm like oblivious to the things. And, now that you guys are older and you're telling me all the different things, like, yeah, I'm like, no crap. I know it now, but it's like, gosh, when we were naive and we were all, I mean, I would have had no idea that people,
Yeah.
I would play Call of
Connection.
Duty with your brother online, and like talking, like you would be talking to all these random people all over the country. And I thought that was so fun, but then I never really thought, like, it never occurred to me,
Right.
like, hey, when
Because you're
I'm
not
not
a
it,
bad person and you don't like, you
it was
you
like
know?
when, yeah, like when I'm not in the room, some creeper old man could be trying to solicit my son. Like it never occurred to me. I'm thinking everybody playing video games is having fun, like we are. Like I'm mom and this is my kid, and we're playing Call of Duty. Yay! Like, yeah,
I
it
know.
But I mean, how quickly we learn. By the time you guys were in high school, I'm like, oh yeah, it's evil, it's bad, lock it down. Like we need,
Well, that's the thing is,
yeah.
remember trying to lock it down at that point. It's like
Oh,
at that point, it's
it's crack
almost
cocaine.
impossible. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
heard parents at my church talk about like their kids, they turn into like gremlin
Yeah,
monsters when they take away their iPad. Like total like
yeah,
meltdowns more than they've ever seen for
yeah.
anything else.
Yeah. Do you
Like
remember doing that? Do you
yeah,
remember
I
that?
do.
Do you remember how many cell phones you threw against the wall?
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that because we would turn off the cell provider or something or cut off. I don't know what we would do, but you got mad. So, yeah.
yeah.
It's
It's
crack cocaine. Yeah, I mean, it is a drug. Oh, yeah, we could spend hours talking about that. But all of that to say, so, bringing it back to the Epstein conversation, it's like, look, people, they're at the lowest, smallest level in your own freaking home. Take
yeah,
it from me as a mom who had to learn the hard way going through the technology coming of age. Like we didn't know nothing. We know it all now. There's no excuse.
yeah.
Everybody listening to this, I'm telling you right now, groomers are coming for your kids online. Predators are out there. They're on every platform. I don't care if it's Facebook, Snapchat, Twitch,
Wherever
whatever
your
else,
kid wants to be.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wherever your kid wants to be is where the weirdos are going to be. It just
Right.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And so you have the knowledge now. So you can't claim ignorance like maybe I could early on because I'm like, oh, I don't know anything about the internet. What the heck is the internet?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you have to educate yourself because they're there. And then that's something you can do right in your own home. So if you're like, well, I can't really fight global sex trafficking, I don't know what to do. Well, great. You can fight it right in your own home. You can keep them away from your own
You can,
kids. You can go to your
right.
church. You can go to the parent groups in your church and you can educate the parents. You could hire someone to come in and talk to the parents in your church about how to protect their kids on technology. Those are things you can do to protect your children and other children from groomers. And then as
Yeah.
a society in your local government, when we see people being arrested for pedophilia or harming children, maybe we need to insist on some harsher penalties. Maybe we
Yeah.
need to petition our government for some justice for these children. Show up at
Yeah.
the
You'd be
courtroom.
amazed.
Put some
Yeah.
pressure.
You'd be amazed how light the sentencing is for people who are like sexually abusing kids or, even trafficking. I mean, they get lighter sentences than murderers sometimes, which is insane to me. Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people who maybe aren't as involved in that world as you and I have been, they think like, oh, well, they're put away for life. They're not put away for life. They're
No.
literally being let out like 7 months later.
Yeah.
Back into society.
Yeah. And the
Maybe they
rehab.
have to go on the registry, maybe they don't. Like the
Yeah.
sentencing is still light for predators. It's really scary.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and if you need evidence of that, I mean, just look at those folks that we just, were just released as Epstein clients. What's
Yeah.
their sentence? How's Alan Dershowitz doing this week? I didn't see him get arrested. Is he in jail?
Yeah.
Did anyone
Right.
round him up and take him to prison yet? Or is he just sitting in his little rich house doing his rich stuff, going, ha ha ha, whatever, me and Bill Clinton, we're cool? No, they're
Yeah.
just chilling. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I get it.
It's
You're right. It's
yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think just normal, that's the thing is normal everyday people, they just, for all these issues, it's really easy to just be like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. But it's like, you need to make sure your kids can't be groomed, your neighbors' kids aren't able to be groomed. I mean, you can protect
yeah,
the children in your life and you can try to encourage and educate other parents. And even if it doesn't have a huge impact, maybe you might help a child in your area from being hurt. I mean, it's
yeah,
like it's worth a try at least. It's like minimal effort. And yeah, it's just getting involved in local government. I almost feel like it would be good for you and I to do an episode on how to get involved in local government because
absolutely.
obviously I mean, you've always been involved in, like the school board and on city council and it's,
Working,
people, they don't have the time, but it's like you always made time, and it's really not that difficult to incorporate, and it's really important that Christian conservatives get into their local government.
Absolutely.
Make time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I've spent my whole life working in politics too. I've worked for 3 presidential campaigns. I've worked for several local campaigns. I also worked for the Senate. So, yeah, I mean, I know a thing or two about running for office, and I
But
think
even
it's
before
important.
you got super involved, like
Yeah.
you still did it, even if you didn't have all that knowledge when I was really little, you still
I figured it
got
out.
involved.
It's pretty
Yeah,
simple. It's like,
yeah,
you just figure out what you stand for and then you go fight
right.
for it. And
Yeah,
it's like, and if you know your Constitution and you understand what your rights are and your liberties are in this country, then you know what your parameters are. I mean, obviously, these people that think, that are trying to expand what the Constitution affords us, that's incorrect. The
yeah,
Constitution is pretty freaking clear about what we get and what we don't get, okay?
right.
And really, we are only allowed life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, okay? And those are all things given to us by the grace of God. And like, if you keep your government in check and focused on that, then yeah, it's not that hard. You just run for office. And if you're like, oh, I don't have any money, I don't have any time, that's not necessary. I had no money. We were not rich. We had no
No,
money. You know what I had? I had my family, and we
yeah,
knocked on doors, and we made
yep,
flyers, and we
yeah.
ran
Like,
Facebook
it all-
ads,
yeah,
like it
yeah,
free organic social media posts. Like, come on.
yeah,
So anyways, but yeah, we can do an episode on that. I love that kind of thing. So that'll be fun.
yeah. That
But
would be cool.
yes. So well, we talked about the heavy stuff up front. I mean, we could go on and on, but I think we'll transition to something a little kooky and weird if you're okay with it.
Yeah.
Just kind of
Oh, yeah, I
roll.
know what you. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
interested in this. Yeah.
So, it's funny because, like, I think your generation, are you guys like the Instagram generation? Is that your preferred profile? Like, mine's
Yeah,
considered the
mine
face.
is. Yeah, you're the millennials your age are Facebook, and
I'm
then
not
mine.
millennial. I'm Gen X.
Okay, well, you're on the cusp.
Yes.
So, the cusp people are Facebook. I'm kind of on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z, and we're Instagram, and then Gen Z is TikTok.
Okay. Well, and
So yeah,
I think Twitter or X. I think X is
yeah,
also my generation because that seems to be who's on there quite
yeah,
frequently. But I also think there's young people on there too. It's a good mix. But so I tend to go to Twitter. I don't play on Instagram. I don't really care for Instagram. To me, it's all
yeah,
like, oh, look at my filter and look at me. Blah. It's like, oh God.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, that's not really my thing. But
yeah.
I I don't really care for Facebook either. It's a very curated, but Twitter is like, to me, it's the Wild West. It's like raw. It's like if you have to be able to say something in like short sentences, and I mean that's hard to do. Like, how do you like come out swinging?
Yeah, it's more style though, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, but I'm on Twitter a lot, so I sometimes I follow things that are trending just to see what the heck's going on out there. And so I've noticed this trending one called the Blue Beam Project. Okay. So have you heard of the Blue Beam Project?
No, and when you brought it up, I thought you were saying bean, BEAN is in Nancy, but it's beam, M is in
Right.
Mary.
Yes.
Just to specify.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not talking Jack and the Beanstalk
No,
or anything.
the
Yeah.
beans.
Okay, so to preface this, it's some conspiracy theory, right? Just like COVID.
Give it like
COVID.
month. Yeah.
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 Okay, so anyways, it's a conspiracy theory that the government way back when, I don't know, 50s, 60s, when they were doing all the LSD testing on people and all that crazy stuff, when they've been doing all this bad stuff anyways.
Yeah.
They've been developing some sort of technology that can do holograms and really make things appear to be real that are not. Now, we know they have this technology because we've seen it at sporting events. They've used it in like marketing campaigns in China. Like they have this giant samurai guy with a sword that's on a billboard, and he comes out of the billboard at you. It's super scary. People are driving down the road. Yeah. So hologram technology is not new or different, and this shouldn't shock anyone. But what they've done is they've found a way to weaponize it and enhance it. So the conspiracy that's floating around is this is the thing they're going to use, because a couple of different ways they could use it. One, they could facilitate aliens invading the world, and of course that would get everybody all ooh, we weed up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Or, imagine this. Jesus coming down in the cloud. How many Christians would because of course we're all waiting for him to come down. We'd be like, take me. But to be deceived, we've got to be super careful because that one
instigate war, or all the same worries we have about AI and what's that face?
Face recognition.
Yeah, face recognition. It's the same thing, but way amped up, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what the thing is. But then, interestingly enough, as a side note, if you have if you follow the news and you follow social media at all, you've heard an uptick over the last, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 years. I'm not really sure how long it's been going on in UFO stuff. It's
even after, I'd say this year, I've been seeing a lot of people actually talk, not even jokingly talk about it, big news sources actually talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird, right? And then they I guess the government released some documents claiming oh yeah, we have evidence, we have, all this blah, blah, blah
We've
crap.
seen them, yeah.
Yes. Yep. So all of that's kind of, interesting as a side note.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up is that, so what's funny is last week or this week, I don't know, it all runs together sometimes. There was some incident, right, down in Miami.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw that. Yeah. And so people were calling the police and they're like, there's aliens and they're big. They're 9 feet tall and they're in the mall, blah. Right. And I was like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But then, it didn't really go away because then they were showing pictures of how many police units were called there and all the Black Hawk helicopters circling or all this stuff. So there was definitely some weird stuff. Whatever was going down at that mall was pretty significant. It wasn't aliens. It was, later I saw a picture and it looked like, what's that stupid Mexican gang that's super bad that kills everybody? M898 or something. What are they called?
Yeah. I don't know.
Criminals. They're absolute horrible human. They're traffickers, by the way, if anyone needs to know. They're traffickers, they're drug smugglers, and they're the most vicious, horrible freaking gangs on the planet. But yeah. So anyways, I saw a picture that's what was going down, is there was some sort of gang war going on in there. I don't know what's true. Who gives a crap? But then I was on Twitter today, and so I think it was all last night, everybody in Miami and Florida has been filming all these UFO sightings. So there's all these pictures floating around on Twitter of all these different sightings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pushing the narrative further. So I'm like, okay, what?
Well, and it could be people jumping on a trend, but it also could be it could be the blue beam situation.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say, but all I know is it's goofy and it's just coincidental that it all plays out in the same time frame, right? So anyways, interestingly enough, I'm watching some of these videos, and you know what it is? It's remember those lights that you saw over your house that were the
SpaceX lights?
Yes. Yeah. They're creepy. They look weird, right? So there was some of that going on.
I was terrified. I was actually terrified when I saw them.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, there was some of that, and there was some video too that it looked like somebody said it was the SpaceX ship going off or something. So I don't know.
Is that what you were talking about? Is that what you're talking about? Is it a jet in the sky? Someone? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I don't know. It looks like those little lights that you guys saw, the ones that were kind of all together.
Oh, okay.
And then, but then there's one, I saw one that they had. It looked like a exploding rocket ship kind of thing, and it kind of that was interesting.
I've seen that here in Kentucky, and apparently there's been a lot of weird sightings like that, in Owensboro. Multiple people have seen this weird thing.
Yeah,
and people have lived here. People who've lived in Kentucky their whole lives are I've seen jets and stuff fly. I've never seen something like that. So
yeah. Well, weird. Remember when we were with you and we were driving around and we saw those weird beams? Yeah. Yeah, don't worry, people. I don't believe in UFOs, so I'm not saying
I don't either. I do believe. I believe there could be weird things going on, government controlled, like HARP or, I'm not
Or
just believe
blue
blue.
beam, bub.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't believe in discrediting all these conspiracy theories right away.
Yeah.
You could be wrong,
Yeah.
but I don't know, you
You
know?
never know. I
Yeah,
mean, it's funny, but so much of what we talked about in 2020 was right.
right.
We're batting like 90% of the time right.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
bad.
pretty
But
good.
yeah, so anyways, I just find it interesting. So we'll just pay attention to that and see, are they going to keep amping this up? Because here's the thing I've learned is if anything starts like trending out there and everybody starts talking about it, then it's a plant.
Yeah,
It's like the government wants us to talk about it. It's a
the government
distraction.
wants us to know about it. They're like, oh,
Yes.
yeah, there's been UFOs. Yeah. It's like, okay, why are you now releasing this?
Right.
Could be a
Yeah.
distraction or it could be something else. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a good distraction from Epstein. I mean, of course, they don't want us
Yeah,
talking about that too long. I mean, what I'd really like to know is when are we going to find out when Biden went to Epstein Island?
right. That's what I was thinking too when they
Yeah,
released.
because you
Yeah.
know he did. Is that the name that's blacked out
Well, that's
because
what
he
I
gets
thought
press?
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Ever? I mean, I don't know.
That would make sense. I think legally they would have to retract that because that would be a big like national security issue.
Right. Yeah. I
So
love the. I know we keep bringing up Epstein, but I love the theory that's floating around that he worked for like the CIA or the FBI or something. That he was at a
well, his
plant.
dad wasn't, or Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was in intelligence.
Oh yeah, for Israel.
Oh, right, for Israel. Right, for Israel. Yeah. And
Interesting.
now, yeah, there's just, I don't know. There's just too many coincidences.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're not like, we don't know any of these people. We're not geniuses, okay? But I don't think it takes a genius to,
No.
put puzzle pieces together. I think a lot of these people count on like average people being pretty stupid, but it's really like, you know, I don't know, it's just a little weird.
Yeah, I think it is weird, but I mean, half our country is a bunch of sheep that will just follow whatever Hollywood stars or Taylor Swift tells them to do, if we're being
Right.
honest. I
Yeah,
mean, let's be real. I
right.
mean, the fact that we live in a society where there are people who I have seen that actually are like, yeah, Joe Biden, 2024. I'm like,
I
is
don't
this
believe
real?
you.
Oh,
I don't believe
go to
you, actually.
Twitter. No,
Oh,
Twitter hashtag. Yes.
goblins. Yeah, I could see
Yes.
that. Yeah, I
Yes.
I don't feel like normal everyday people who aren't like completely inundated on the internet
But
can imagine.
what do you mean? He won, so obviously there was so many people,
Oh, right. Yeah,
right?
like
Come
for
on.
the country, right?
Yeah, I mean, my gosh.
Yeah,
Look at everything he's done for us.
right. He could have at least wiped out the student loans.
I mean,
At
yeah, for
least.
real.
Yeah,
Yeah. What a disappointment.
yeah,
Yeah, he's a child sniffing. I mean, according to his own child's diary, he
yeah.
himself is a pedophile. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, nobody likes to talk about it, but it's like, I'm sorry, is she lying? I mean, this is in her diary. Her diary has been released. I mean, are we going to talk about that? He sniffs kids. It's on camera. He
Yeah,
grabs them weirdly.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, look, if you're just a weird old man, okay, could you stop? Because it's
Right.
freaking weird, you
Yeah,
sick weirdo. If you ever, I mean,
yeah.
and then for, you know what really makes me mad though is the parents that take their kid to Joe Biden, because in some of those pictures they're like all posing and you can see the dad's like, look at me, I'm with the president of the United States, and the mom's like, and then the kid's being like grabbed by this freak, and I'm like, shame on you. Shame on you for taking your child.
They're the parents that would like want their kid to be like a Disney star.
Yes.
That's a
Those
different breed of parenting right there. That's like you love your child at all. honestly.
Disney. Someday we'll do a deep dive on Disney and we'll go through. And if you haven't seen, oh, speaking of Epstein, if you haven't seen Pinocchio, listeners, by the
Oh,
way,
yeah.
go back and watch Pinocchio. And then when he goes to the island and that weird guy with the cigar is there, the whole freaking thing is very weird, very sus. Please take a look at
really
it.
is. And you know what? And maybe it's not like directly connected, but it's like it's weird and creepy enough. Like watching it now as an adult, it's like something is not right there. Like where do you even come up with that whole weirdness? It's really weird.
Right.
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of stuff like hidden in like Disney movies like that from like the olden
Yeah.
days or even
So
now.
many. So many. Well, and
Creepy.
you know what would be fun is to just go through movies and like dissect them, looking for weird things that we just never noticed before. Because there's
Yeah.
a lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll ruin our treasured moments and memories with
Childhood.
Disney, but
Yeah. It's already for me. It's already ruined. I'm like, yeah,
I
no.
know. After you saw like Miley Cyrus turn into a psychopath, that was so
Yeah,
sad.
traumatizing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
super
man.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, we covered a lot of ground today. What else do we want to talk about in this episode?
Let's see. We covered the blue beam. We covered Epstein. We haven't talked a lot about health or anything, but we could
Oh, yeah.
probably still do another dedicated episode for mental health, or maybe have a guest on.
After this episode,
We need
after
a,
this episode, we all need some mental health really bad because it's too
yeah.
much.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we do need to do that. I think
Yeah.
this episode we can we probably do need to talk a little bit about that, our different spectrums of health and wellness. I think we should bring that up, but we do need a dedicated episode where we just kind of deep dive into health and wellness, and then specifically the mental health stuff. I think that's important. And really, what does the Bible teach us about that? I think is going to
Yeah.
be important. And perhaps even maybe we'll have a guest come on, an expert that can really help us tie it together, because I think as someone who's studying sports nutrition and health and becoming a trainer, I'm getting the scientifical kind of the world view of kind of things, but there's a biblical view, there's a holistic nutritionist view, there's a lot of different views, and we
Yeah.
need to really take them all into consideration, but really put them up against the Bible. And I think probably having a guest that's really able to navigate that. I'm thinking maybe a pastor that's a biblical counselor, so that they're
Yeah.
trained both as a theologian, a pastor, as well as someone that helps people in the counseling profession. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, I think that's a good perspective. Because if you just get a mental health professional, I think a lot of them have been a little bit tainted by the system.
Yeah.
I don't think they're not going to probably approach it from a biblical aspect at all. So, yeah, it's probably better to get a pastor or somebody who's qualified.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm got the baby in
I
the
heard
back.
your little angel.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Now so it's a new year and all that, and are you keeping up with your your daily activities? How's that going? Are you
Yeah,
back in the walking routine?
yeah, I think it would be cool to do like a postpartum episode at some point because I feel like, I don't know. I don't think anyone can really prepare you for it, but I mean, I think there's just so many like portrayals online that are really misconstrued, but yeah, I'd say after now it's been about a month and a half, and I feel like now we kind of have some semblance of normalcy in our lives again. But yeah, I'm
And
still
it's a new normal, right?
yeah, it's a new normal, but like, I feel like I can function. I can go
Yeah.
out into the world, and which is good because as you know, I didn't think I could like the first two
Yeah.
or 3 weeks. I didn't think I'd ever go outside again, but yeah,
Aw.
you just do. Things get
It's kind of
easy.
like after COVID, everybody was like, I don't think actually, I don't want to go out in the world anymore. They're crazy.
Yeah.
They're insane. I mean, to be
Yeah.
honest, it's
I mean,
safer in here.
yeah. I mean,
I was getting sick and tired of being yelled at in public for not wearing a mask. I can tell you that right now.
yeah, I think someone should do like a compilation video of like all the crazy, like the people in the gas masks and like employees shoving people out of stores. I would love to see that. Just to remember.
Oh, that I
I
loved going to Whole Foods. Oh my gosh, that was like my favorite, going to Whole Foods and there was a guy in a gas mask and I'm like, what in
and you have your
tarnation?
little like scraggly mask that you made.
No, we had no mask.
Yeah,
We're just like, wow, bud, you're
weird.
cool.
Yeah, that was
It's
funny.
not a nuclear war. What the
Yeah.
heck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just remember when we moved into that house, and we were trying to get like a mirror or something at Walmart, and the Walmart employees flocked our cart, took our mirror out of the cart, like in our face, like they're getting in our faces, yelling at us because it was a non-essential item. So they took it out of our cart and wouldn't let us buy it. That's our
Oh
true
my
story.
gosh.
Michigan, yes, that is real life. Good times.
That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, I loved my mask with the fringe. It wasn't even a mask. It
You
looked like a like a mustache or something. Yes. Oh my gosh.
it's
I'm
fun.
pretty sure that I was patient zero though, because like when that thing started, I was in Las Vegas for a work conference,
Yeah,
and like it was the Chinese New Year, and every single Chinese person in the entire globe was in Las Vegas, and they were all wearing masks, and I'm like, what in the world? Because this was before masks were
yeah.
a thing, and I'm like, what are these weird people doing? And then on the way home, I got so sick. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel dizzy. I'm going to pass out. What is going on? I'm like not feeling well. And then I was like deathly ill for like a month after that.
Yeah.
Probably had COVID, but I don't know. I mean, I didn't
Like
test because I'm like,
early
okay,
spring.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Funny.
was a
Sounds
nightmare.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it was just a really bad cold, hello, whatever. A
Right.
genetically modified, lab created cold.
Oh yeah. We'll never hear anything about the details though.
Mm hmm.
I wish
That could be a.
one thing I don't like, I think, one thing to think about, is how I feel like news has never churned out as fast as it does now either.
Yeah.
I think it's to our detriment. Like we have such short attention spans and memories. It's
Yeah.
like so much has happened as a society. Like we've had like societal trauma from like COVID and like all the lies and whatever, but like
Yeah.
we're so inundated constantly. It's like you just forget. Like I forget about COVID sometimes. Like
Yeah.
which is
Our
crazy.
fight Yeah, our fight or flight has been like activated in so many ways, and I don't think it's been turned off for most of us because we
No.
immediately have moved on to the next crisis. You're right. I mean, your dad was actually talking to, maybe it was you or your brother, and just talking about like in the olden days, like you couldn't get the news until the morning newspaper
Yeah.
or at 6 o'clock. And
Yeah.
then you tuned in, and the news was 30 minutes long, so they hand selected whatever it was they were going to tell you,
Yeah.
and that's all you got.
And
That's
a lot
it.
of times it's local.
There's nothing else, but it wasn't local. There was like a 6 o'clock local, and then there was like a national news at
Yeah.
6:30. So that's it. That's all you got, and you had no idea what was going on in the world any other way. And
Right.
frankly,
And
it was
now
so
you get
much
it all
nicer.
day through podcasts and you're hearing about other
Social
countries.
media, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's crazy. I think it's a little too much. I still believe firmly in that progressive Amish society. I think someday that could be a reality. It's like
Yeah.
really the only technology you have is maybe like one computer that everybody shares, and you get like limited access to it.
If that. I mean,
Yeah, unless you have to work from home, then you have to have access to it, I guess.
just keep it in one room, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like when work's done, it closes and there's no internet. The internet's shut off. Like that's the kind of life. Like I mean, that's actually a trend. Like I've seen a lot of there's companies out there. There's a company called Arrow. They sell this box. It's a beautiful box. But basically, your family when they get home, they put all their technology in it. It closes. It shuts them all off.
Yeah.
It's like an EMF box kind of thing, and tech free. Like
Nice.
no more interruptions. I was actually listening to a podcast of a really successful CEO. He did marquee jets. He did all the stuff. He's rich, of course. But he literally puts his phone on airplane mode from like 8 p.m. at night until 10 a.m. in the morning, until the last kid is dropped off at school. He's like He's just like, look, if you need to reach me, you're going to have to physically drive to my house, beat on my door until I answer because
Yeah,
you're not bothering me. I'm with my family. These are the only people that I care about at this time. So
I
good
like
luck
that.
to you. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, because we're
I
too
like,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I like it, but I also like calling your baby on
Oh,
Wi-Fi and talking to
yeah.
her.
Or maybe play mode, but like exclude you. You can have
No,
access.
I'd be okay with it if I knew that you were going to shut it off at a certain time. I'll just bother you before that. I hate the fact that I have to call you using video and talk to the baby, but I can't be there all the time because we live so far apart. But
No.
we'll make it work for
The
now.
technology sometimes has a purpose, I guess.
Uh, yeah, it's not the same though.
An evil necessity, I guess,
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I think we'll bring today's episode to a close, and hopefully everybody will check out the show notes. We're going to put some links in there for you to get involved in some way, shape, or form. There's going to be some options, to really get involved in helping to battle against sex trafficking, to at least educate yourself at a minimum and protect your kids and your family, because at a very minimum level of effort, you need to do something to protect your kids.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can stress that enough, but you must. It's not optional.
Yeah.
And we'll also put some links in there for some of these funny Twitter posts that are floating around with some Blue Beam information, just so you guys can get a giggle out of that. And we'd love your feedback. So make sure you leave us, comments, share the podcast. We want to get the audience growing. We want to reach new people. And we want to know what you want to hear about, too, because we just like to talk and we like to share our thoughts. So
Yeah.
what else, Mariah?
I think you covered it all. I hope that everybody gets a little bit inspired to do something, for the kids in your community and your own kids. And yeah, we do want to hear from you.
Awesome. Do you want to wrap us up in a closing prayer and we'll end today's episode?
Sure.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to all of our viewers, and I hope that we were able to stir up some fervor in our viewership, and give them a focus on protecting the most vulnerable in our communities, which is our children, and give us the courage to speak for them, speak for those who don't have a voice, and I hope that you help us to have tender hearts towards those children and continue to pray for them and pray for our country. And thank you so much for the opportunity to speak and to share our thoughts freely on this platform. And I pray that everybody is having a great new year and sticking to their goals. And in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, listeners, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Blonde Informants podcast. Take care. God bless.